Well, the Western Derby teams have just dropped, and we'll run our eye over that game and all of the matches in the AFL's rivalry round. Welcome to the West Sport Show. We are brought to you by TABtouch. Got the touch? Download the TABtouch app today. What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au. It's Thursday. It's late Thursday, and as usual, I am joined by Mitchell Woodcock. How are you, Mitch?
Good, mate. We're late in today, but it's been a big day. It's a Derby day. It's a Derby week. It's flat out.
It is indeed. And we'll get into the teams because they've just dropped, and we'll get into them in just a moment. I just wanted to open the podcast. Woke up this morning, very sobering news that at the passing of WA footy great Warren Ralph. Claremont, Carlton, Glenelg, 4-time leading goal kicker in the waffle with Claremont. Spent 3 years at Carlton. Of course, there was that famous 9-goal debut in round 1, 1984. He also kicked 8 in the qualifying final that year. I'll read out a quote here. Archetypal, fast-leading full forward, deadly accurate kick and frequent producer of the spectacular. And we saw that wonderful mark he took in the waffle. 687 goals, 164 games. 6 games for Western Australia as well. A WA Hall of Fame inductee in 2019 and, of course, 3 premierships at Claremont. Spoke to Warren a couple of years ago at Lathlane Park when they handed out Bernie Naylor medals retrospectively and just got his views on full forwards, the way they play the game these days. And he said, I would have had an oxygen mask on at quarter time. They just do far more running than we ever did. But just a great football figure, and our thoughts go out to Warren Ralph's family, his friends, and everyone in the football community who is touched by him. A very sad day. Yeah,
it's a tough one when it comes to football in WA. And, thoughts and prayers out to the family and the clubs and friends and everybody involved.
66, way too early, but great football memories and a life well lived by Warren Ralph. Western Derby, Derby week. In fact, it is rivalry round in the AFL. There's some there that are a little bit dodgy when it comes to rivalries, but certainly this one is big. The teams are out and a couple of changes for each.
Yeah, so I'll start with West Coast. There's a bit of a surprise the axe wasn't swung as much, and I've got a theory on this, and I've written this in an analysis for the West today. So the 2 changes are Jack Petruccelli, who was the sub last week, he's come out, and Jack Williams, who didn't touch the footy before being subbed out of the game, he's also made way. They brought back Harley Reid to be the second tall alongside Job Shanahan, only 15 games between the 2 talls. And Elijah Hewitt comes back after being managed, so he's also returning for West Coast. I like this from Andrew McQualter. He wants to see, after the team that got beaten last week, can they handle the heat and rebound? There's 50,000 Fremantle faithful are going to be there this weekend. This is the most parochial crowd they're going to come up against. This is a test of character for the young Eagles, and I think Andrew McQualter wants to see who's going to thrive and who's going to melt a little bit under the pressure, and I kind of like it.
Felt a bit sorry for Jack Petruccelli, though. Comes in for his first game for however many weeks.
Since round 2.
Used as the sub and just didn't really get a chance to have an impact, and I don't know what else he's meant to do, but I just feel for him this week.
Yeah, it's a tough one for him, but obviously I think he's uncontracted. Well, he is uncontracted beyond this year, and it's probably going to be one of those ones that are fighting for their careers towards the end of it. So, look, I think he's got something that you can't teach, and that's pace, and it wouldn't shock me if another club has a go.
I would think they would, absolutely. It is a rare commodity, so you want that in your squad. Beau Allen, worrying today. He was in the mix to return to that team, and just in match sim, caught in a tackle and just landed heavily or awkwardly on his left ankle and had to be assisted from the field by trainers. So we certainly hope there's not been an update on that injury yet, but hoping it's not too bad. For Beau Allen, who really hasn't had much luck this year, is due to play in round 1 and, of course, had that illness that kept him out for several weeks, lost 5 kilos, eventually got back in for round 9, first game against Melbourne, suspended for a week.
Oh, no, he's
had
a rough season.
And we've seen enough in Beau Allen to know he's going to be a 10-year player, I think, for West Coast Eagles. He's got an immense talent, good footy head, so hang in there.
Yeah, 100%. Look, hopefully he comes back. And if it is the end of his season, then, hopefully he comes back next year full and ready to go and, full pre-season under his belt. Be good to see. And what about the changes for Fremantle quarters? What do we got?
You tell me.
Well, we got Isaiah Dudley is back, and Neil Erasmus has come in, and Matt Johnson's come out as well. He's got that injury from last week, and Corey Wagner is also injured too. So 2 key changes. I would think then Isaiah Dudley would become the sub-quarters.
I would have thought so.
And Hayden Young would play as
Hayden Young's
a full game.
He's
so
going to play full game.
I think Hayden Young will play a full game, but I think it'll be on managed minutes in terms of midfield minutes. I think we'll see him swing a little bit more forward like he did earlier this
not
year.
Back. Not
no.
returned to halfback?
He did it earlier this year when he came back from the hamstring originally. He actually played a little bit out of the goal square as the full forward.
Yep, he did.
So he's got that capability. So it'll be an interesting way they go about it. Fascinating matchups coming up in this Western Derby. You know, Jeremy McGovern no longer there for West Coast.
The three-headed monster in the Fremantle forward line.
So it leaves, Harry Edwards with Josh Tracy.
Ruben Jinby
with Jai Amos. And then young Rhett Bazzo with Pat Voss. It's any way you structure it up, it's a tough task for all 3 Eagles defenders. And then the Smalls come into it, and Frederick, Bolton, Hayden Young when he goes down there, Dudley when if he doesn't start as the sub, or even when he does come on. And then at the opposite end of the ground, you've got those 2 young forwards I spoke about, Quarters. Archer Reid's only played 11 games in his second year. Job Shanahan, as exciting as a young man is out there, has only played 4 games. You've got these 2 young guys up against Brennan Cox and Oscar McDonald, who've got so much experience. And it's going to allow Luke Ryan to free himself up if he doesn't play on. Luke Ryan, if he doesn't play on a Liam Ryan. I've got myself confused with my Ryans then. But so that's going to be an interesting dynamic, the way Fremantle and West Coast match up in here. But as we always know, it's won or lost in the middle of the ground. And this is where Fremantle are big and strong. So you've got the 2 rucks in Darcy and Jackson versus Bailey Williams and Matt Flynn. You think they've got the advantage there. Then you've got the midfield of Sarong, Brayshaw, Young. Neil Erasmus now running through there if he's not the sub, and against
O'Driscoll can swing through there as well.
And playing fantastic as well, O'Driscoll. So then it comes up against Harley, Tim Kelly, who I think really needs a big game this week, Elijah Hewitt, who's back. It's a young midfield, Jack Hutchinson, there's no Graham, maybe Liam Baker a little bit in there again. So it's going to be a fascinating matchup. Obviously, it's heavily weighted towards Fremantle, but Derby's... I know that there's a little thing of derbies go the way they should in the last few years, but don't forget West Coast beat them last year.
They did, but this is a Fremantle side that is playing really good footy. And I don't think it's a banana skin game.
But I don't think they put teams away enough too. So I think if Fremantle make a statement, it'll be a big win. I think if they just get through with a 50-point win, which sounds like that's a big win, but you understand what I'm saying in the context of this, I think it'll be a good result.
Just at the other end, Jinby could be a good match for someone like a Tracy. I just think aerobically,
100%
to run with him. So we'll see what happens there. Tim Kelly, I just think I'm not sure. I know he played a bit forward when he was at Geelong early, but I don't think he's a half forward. And I know last week he played midfield, returned to the side, didn't go too well last week. But I just think he'll be a better player. I think they need his experience, but he'll be a better player when we get Elliot Yeo through that midfield next year. So if you've got Yeo, Reid, Hewitt, Graham through there, and then Tim Kelly becomes that skillful outside player we know he can be. And I think he'll be much better when there's stronger bodies in there, I think.
Yeah, they've got a really attacking flair of a midfield at the moment with Harley, Hewitt and Kelly, without Graham and Yeo to be that back of the circle stopper that kind of does that bit of stuff you don't see. It's little defensive efforts and stuff.
Does Freo bother sending anyone to Harley? I mean, 27 possessions 2 weeks in a row.
I think you consider it if he gets off the chain and they're in the game. But if you're dominating the midfield, then, what do you need to stop one bloke for? It's a question that'll be answered midway through the first quarter, I feel.
Where are we at with Harley? His manager, Nick Geeshan, hit town today.
He's here.
But where are we at with him? I voiced my opinion on Tuesday. I think massive if he can remain with the West Coast Eagles. But I don't like these long-term contracts. 11 years is a long time to invest in someone. You don't know what the future holds. I'm not sure. And I know the AFL is looking at a cap on contracts to save clubs from themselves, but that can't happen until the current collective bargaining agreement finishes, which is, I think, 2020. Yeah, it's 2027. So they can't really change anything till then. But we saw it happen in the NBA way back in 1994 when Juwan Howard was signed on a 12-year, $42 million deal with the Washington Bullets. Didn't go too well. He didn't live up to that hype or promise. So I'm not saying Harley's not worth an investment. I just worry about that 11 years.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a curious one. So obviously it's a 2-year deal with a 9-year option. I think it gives West Coast hope that they're at least coming back with counter offers. It's a counter offer at the end of the day, Quarters. It's not the be all and end all. It's not.
So there's still Victorian clubs in the hunt. I wonder if those Victorian clubs are a little bit jittery about the length and size of that deal, because I know that Hawthorn and Geelong, I don't think they pay that.
But is there extra cash though to keep him?
Yep.
As opposed to him going home? Is there a tax to, it's always like the tax to get a player out of a club to keep a player is quite often more. Is there the tax of keeping him in WA to taking him back to Victoria? It's a curious one. I don't think he'll play for a team that's struggling. I don't know why you would leave a West Coast to go to a North Melbourne.
So his management have said that's not true. He never said that. But I think you would want to go
it would make
to a club
sense,
that's approaching the window or in it.
Yeah, so I could see him still going to a Melbourne because there's an option there to grow with some of those young guys like Tholstrup and Trent Rivers, and then you've still got Oliver and Petrarca and that. But there's no point going to a Richmond unless he feels that rebuild is really quick, which it does look promising, and maybe he can go with that.
But it looked good North in the Melbourne, third quarter last week.
Yeah, and North Melbourne, I don't think a St Kilda would suit his style, and I don't think he'd like the style of Ross Lyon, to be honest. Maybe you would, I don't know. I feel like I'm putting words into his mouth. But yeah, you could definitely see a Collingwood or a Hawthorn or a Geelong. They do it. And you know what? Geelong get their guys. They get Cameron, they get Paddy Dangerfield, and they don't overpay. So there's ways around this. Clubs are very good at this sort of stuff in the future. So, look, it's a watch. I think it's a good sign that Harley's management's at least showing interest in him staying. This is what we needed to see, is a little glimmer of hope.
When you are on the go, Mitch, you can save big bucks at Thirsty Camel Bottle Shops. Shop the way you want, online and in-store. There's convenience and great value every day. Head to our website or download the Thirsty Camel app today. We'll get to our tips in a moment, but just wanted to have a look at the 2025 Under18 All-Australian team that was announced today, and a couple of West Australians in there.
Yeah, fantastic. So 3 West Aussies. Jacob Farrow named in the back pocket from West Perth. Speaking of Hayden Young, this kid's got a bit of Hayden Young about him. Really classy mover, reads the play well, delivers well. Played the first half, so the first 2 games in the midfield, then went back to halfback and really showed his skill set. Like the way he goes about it. The captain and MVP, Fred Rodriguez, named on a half-forward flank, played in the midfield, but it's an All-Australian team, so they do these sort of things. Bookended his really well. So Vic Met Country game that they won, played really well. It was the Star Vic Metro game that they lost. Also the Star. His 2 middle games were good without being stellar. Made his debut for South Fremantle in round 1. Fantastic. And Sam Swaddling named on the bench. Another inside midfielder who actually played as a high half forward and pushed up to be a midfielder. He's a really exciting prospect for me. I love the way he's clean inside. So really good from them. And then there was some obvious ones. So Dyson Sharp from South Australia, the captain there.
Winning the Lark medal.
Lark medal as well. He'll be a contender for that number 1 pick. Cooper Duff-Tytler, who I feel is right on West Coast radar, has been named at centre half forward. He's a ruckman though, a bit Luke Jackson-esque. So plenty out there. A really good team, but
not a
really
good
effort
name,
for West
that one.
Coast.
Cooper Duff-Tytler. There's too many words.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit too heavy. But look, speaking to people around WA football, they feel it's going to be another decent draft year. We're about 9 hopefully taken this year, and maybe a few more depending on how the rest of the season goes. I can tell you out of that team, Quarters, that Charlie Banfield, the son of Drew Banfield, is set to play for West Coast Waffle side against Peel Thunder on Sunday. So really excited for that one too.
So we do have Derby round. We have obviously West Coast v Fremantle on Saturday. We've got Peel versus West Coast in the Waffle. And we have an AFLW scratch match between West Coast and Fremantle.
It's all happening.
That's to go with the Showdown, the Battle of the Bridge, or the Sydney Derby, as the Giants like to call it. And, of course, the Q Clash, which we've got to come up with a better name than
We've got to come up with a better name for Battle of the Bridge.
Let's pick some winners, but first, let's hear from our old mate at TABtouch, David Shortte.
Shorty's tips.
Producer Josh here, and joining me in the studio is David Shortte from TABtouch. G'day, Shorty.
G'day, Josh. Nice to be with you.
Who's your heater for this week?
Heater of Freo. They're on fire. It was a big win last week over the Pies. They've now won 8 of their last 9 games. They're into $13 to win the flag.
Flag mantle could be on, and your cooler?
Cooler's poor old Daniel Rioli. So, of course, a big recruit from Richmond to Gold Coast. He's had a wonderful season, but he sustained a fracture to his leg in their loss to Adelaide last week. He's set for a pretty significant stint on the sidelines, and that could well hurt the Suns' push towards the finals.
Yeah, for sure. And your hot tip for this weekend?
Hot tip, I'll be teaming up with Brisbane and Geelong to win. I'm taking the Bulldogs to win by 40 or more against the banged-up Essendon and Freo to win by 25 or more against West Coast. That's paying $3.07 this weekend.
I like it. And on the drift.
On the drift at Gold Coast, so they're the Q Clash taking on the big brothers Brisbane who have owned them in recent times. They've blown from 228 out to 235.
Should be a good game. Good to see the two Queensland clubs up and about. And your player to watch.
Is the astronaut, Aaron Norton. He's been on fire of late for the Dogs. Kicked 15 goals in his last 4 games, which has been most impressive. Playing against Essendon this week, who've got a depleted backline at the moment. He could well go big again.
Yeah.
It's paying $8.50 to be the first goal kicker and $6.25 to kick 5 or more, which he's done 2 of his last 4 games. So that could well prove to be a nice price for the astronaut to go big again.
Love it. Thanks, Shorty. We'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Josh.
Righto, Mitch. Tonight at the MCG, 5:30 p.m. In fact, not long away at all.
Hurry, you got to get home.
Hawthorn $1.21, Carlton $4.40. Some big milestones and ins. Will Day returns for Hawthorn. That is a massive in. That's something Hawthorn fans have been waiting all season to see. Finn McGuinness out with that lacerated kidney from the Port Adelaide game in Tasmania. He's remained in Tasmania, so all the best for him. And Sam Docherty plays his 184th and final game for the Blues.
What a career.
That's has overcome 3 ACLs, not 2, and 2 bouts of testicular cancer. Obviously started his career with Brisbane, went to Carlton, was captain for a while, comes from Phillip Island, place I know well. I spent a lot of my childhood there. It's in Western Port Bay in Victoria. Wonderful place where the little penguins parade. So, Sam Docherty, we salute you. Harry Mackay is a big in for the Blues as well, and Akers rejoins that side. So, look, I think Hawthorn wins this game. It is something of a danger game given what's riding on it for Carlton. They want to send off Sam Docherty in great fashion, but I think Hawthorn form's pretty good. I can't see them slipping up on this one.
Yeah, you got to go with form at the moment. So the Hawks for me, really like the way they're playing at the moment. Peaking at the right time for me too, Hawks. They started well, had a bit of a lull, but I like the way they're playing at the moment.
Marvel Stadium, Friday night, 5:20 p.m. Essendon, $12. Western Bulldogs, $1.02. Aaron Norton in terrific form. Look out, this could be the week. He just absolutely...
The astronaut.
Kicks it straight and kicks 6 or 7 or 8 or even more. James Harms is available after missing through illness. Essendon, 15 players on their injury list, although Nate Caddy returns. Don't give them a hope. Western Bulldogs by how much?
Oh, yeah. The Bulldogs, they need a win. They're 2 games out of the 8, or 2 games behind, likes of Freo, and need a win to keep in touch with the 8. They lose that, it's just about finals over. So, yeah, curious to see where this one goes, but 100% the Bulldogs.
One of these horrible Friday nights where you've got one game crossing over into another. I
can tell you which one I'm watching.
Yeah, well, GWS v Sydney. So is it the Battle of the Bridge or is it the Sydney Derby? Well, the 2 clubs call it the Sydney Derby out of respect because GWS didn't like that. There's an assumption there that there's no eastern side suburb supporters for them, that they're all over in the west. Now, they are named Greater Western Sydney, but don't like it. 5:50 p.m, Giants $1.55, Sydney $2.45. Tests for Jesse Hogan, Josh Kelly, Sam Taylor. They would be 3 massive ins, as there is for Tom Papley off that hamstring injury with Sydney. Tom McCartan still out under concussion protocols. GWS's last 3 wins against the Swans have come by a combined 4 points. They went down by 14 points earlier this season in round 8. Jake Stringer broke 6 tackles last week against the Bombers, his most in any game on record. He kicked 3 goals and had 3 score assists. On the Sydney side of the ledger, what a game from Isaac Heaney last week. Became the first ever player to have 11-plus clearances and 5-plus goals in a game. He joins Luke Parker and Mickey O. Michael O'Loughlin as the only Swan with 30-plus disposals and 5-plus goals in Champion Data history. Thank you once again to Champion Data for these stats. And Brodie Grundy's 62 hitouts last round against the Kangaroos is the most ever by a Swans player. He spent over 17 minutes on the bench in the final term and still got 62 hitouts. Amazing. Look, I'm picking the Giants to win this game. I have a bit of trust in them at the moment. What do you think, mate? And just on another point, do you think Grundy is now ahead of Gawn?
Yeah, I think he's the All-Australian ruckman at the moment.
Yeah.
I think he's got to finish strongly, but I really like the form he's put in probably the last 6 weeks. He's been the dominant man, and Yeah, I'm going to pick the Giants here, but Sydney peaking well at 2. Not going to make finals, but love the way they're going about it. And I love this next game, Quarters.
But it's buried on a Saturday at 11:20 a.m. Western
I'd still
Standard
going to
Time.
watch it, Quarters.
The Suns, $2.35 at Brisbane Lions, $1.60. Big out for the Suns. Dan Rioli, he's been the driving force from halfback.
Talk about a recruit.
Surgery on a leg, about 4 to 6 weeks. Tests on Sam Collins and Lockie Weller. Collins very important to them. Brisbane are very big in Zach Bailey, and there's a chance Sam Day will play. Although they've been playing both ruckman, Darcy Fort and Oscar McInerney in recent weeks. They may go with the one, which would mean Sam Day would come back in. Who are you picking in this game? I'm actually going. It's not really an upset because they're the favourites. I'm going for Brisbane to win this one.
Yeah,
I just think
so
they're going a bit better at the moment. Suns have dropped off a little bit, and Rioli out really bothers me.
Yeah, and I think Brisbane are playing for top 2, top 4 at the moment. Suns, I think they feel like they're going to make the 8. I think they're going to make the 8. They've got that Essendon game up their sleeve. They're going to be fine. Brisbane, for me, you've got so much more to play for. So I've got to stick with the Lions, but it's going to be a cracker.
People First Stadium. So it's Gold Coast home game, but what is it, an hour on a bus for Brisbane? But still, I mean, it's
not a fun hour either.
It's a world away. It's a world away, Brisbane to the Gold Coast.
Do you reckon Barrow would ask them if they were flying?
What are you talking about?
I didn't tell you this. He asked Andrew McCalder one day if they were flying down to Bunbury.
Oh, yeah. Well, there are, there's joy flights down there you might catch.
I love you, Barrow, if you're listening to this. God, it made me laugh in the
just
press.
potted him, mate.
I love him. I love the press, but I've never tried not to laugh in a press conference hard.
That was very funny. Optus Stadium, Saturday, 2:15 p.m. The big one. Fremantle, $1.03. West Coast, $12. We've just mentioned who's the ins and outs are. Caleb Sarong finished with 35 disposals, 17 contested possessions and 10 clearances against the Eagles in round 3. If he wins the Glendale Allen medal, it'll be 5, but it'll also be 3 in a row.
It will be.
Which only the great Chris Judd has done.
Yeah, I've been teasing Paul Hazelby all week that he's going to lose all his cashies once he's no longer the greatest derby player ever. I'm going Freo. You can't not, can you? It's the shortest odds ever, but I've got this theory. I reckon West Coast will push them for 2.5 quarters and then just run out of legs and the class.
Well, you only need a quarter against West Coast at the moment.
You do.
And you can bury them in a quarter.
And that's what I think will happen. But this is my vision. I want to see 2.5 quarters of good football, but I think Freo will run over the top.
Mount a case for West Coast winning.
Youth, experience, not knowing, not being scarred by losses.
That youthful buzz we saw in round 4 or 5 last year.
And maybe just a little lapse of mental. You know what? No, the new Freo don't do it. They don't have that mental lapse.
The new Freo.
The new Freo. This is a new Freo.
Mm-hmm.
Well, actually, if this is the new Freo, they don't do it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Oh, give me a margin. And a Glendenning Allen medalist.
42 points and Jordan Clark.
Oh, see, I'm going 36. I can't say Jordan Clark now.
Oh, you're going to go Jordan Clark?
I was going Jordan Clark.
Oh, great minds think alike.
Yeah, I think
we didn't even practice that, Josh.
I'll change mine. I'll say Luke Jackson just to change it up a bit. No,
Okay.
I'm going with
Jordan Clark. Yeah.
By the way, you haven't thanked me yet.
Oh, for making you tip Freo. Yeah, I know. I got that.
Remind our listeners what happened last week.
Yeah, you peer pressured me into it.
I pressured you into changing your tip to Freo against Collingwood. You actually tipped Collingwood.
I know, and then I tipped Freo.
And you fretted over it for the entire weekend, and I rang you after that game.
You actually did.
And
Yeah,
what did
you
I
rang
say?
me.
Are you going to thank me now?
Well, you rang me and I was at the Fever. I couldn't answer, but no, I did, and that was great. And I was so excited when I got that tip. And it's actually quite funny. If you want to know how much the experts take the West tipping, I walked into the press conference. Jess Anstis, the Fever captain, sitting there. Dan Ryan, the coach, is sitting there. The first thing Jess says to me is, West Coast lost, I'm off it. I said, what do you mean? She goes, I'm only going to get 8 now. So she was that dedicated to the tipping. That's the first thing she said after winning into a grand final.
So she thought Collingwood would win? Did she?
Yeah, she tipped Collingwood. Tipped Fremantle. But she thought West Coast would beat Richmond, and that would have given her 9 out of 9.
Wow.
And the first thing she said to me after winning that and making a grand final is, I'm off tipping. West Coast won.
Quiet weekend for the Fever too, but in case we forget, good luck to them next week in the grand final. What a wonderful performance. 13 wins in a row. Marvel Stadium, Saturday, 5:35 p.m. The clash of the traditional rivals, North Melbourne and Geelong. North Melbourne $6.75, Geelong $1.10. Since 2021, this is a remarkable stat. North Melbourne has won just 14.8% of all games, the worst rate of any team in the AFL. I think if you did it over the last couple of years, there'd be another team that would top those rankings. But in Nick Larkey, well, he'll be a test, but he's expected to play with a knee. George Wardlaw also under the concussion protocols. He's a chance. out Coleman Jones. Really bad luck for that kid. A calf. I think he lasted 15 minutes of the game last week on his return. So good luck to him. I hope he can get some game time. And Tom Stewart, we're told, will play. He was subbed out with some knee soreness last week, but we're told he will play. Geelong, $1.10, Marvel Stadium. Oh, they get the job done pretty easily, I would have thought.
Yeah, Geelong here. They're a serious outfit, so they'll win.
Adelaide Oval, Saturday, 6:10 p.m. $1.15 the Crows. Port Adelaide, $5.50. Adelaide has booted 6 goals in a row 7 times this season, the most by any team. Potent they are, Mitch, particularly with the other three-headed monster with that forward line that they've got, Fogarty, Walker and Thilthorpe. Mitch Hingle with a hip is a test. Port Adelaide took just 30 marks last round in that horrific downpour in Tasmania against Hawthorn. The 6th fewest in a game on record. But in Mitch we trust. So Mitch Georgiades has been in pretty good form and has also kicked the first goal of the game in 5 matches this season, the most in competition. So if you're having a bit of a bet on TABtouch, have a think about that one for first goal.
Bet responsibly.
Connor Rosie a chance with a hand. Interesting that Willie Rioli, 2 goals in the Sandful, and Jeremy Finlayson, 4 goals in the Sandful last week. So there'd be possibilities. Can Kenny muster something here in his last game showdown as Port Adelaide coach?
Of course he can. And look, I would have kind of liked to have seen him
They've
go
been
out.
close to showdowns.
Yeah, and I would have liked to have seen him gone out this weekend with a bit of fun. Him and Travis Boak, I think, is probably going to finish up this year too. What a great career. But yeah, the Adelaide will get this done. They're so strong at the moment. They're my premiership favourites at the moment. I've got them so far ahead. So the Crows for me.
Yeah, I like them too. Yeah, I think they're a big chance. MCG Sunday, 12:10 p.m. Richmond $10, Collingwood $1.05. Not almost at Essendon levels here. 14 players on the injured list at Richmond. Big in for Richmond. Noah Bolter, who has served his curfew. So he's now available for the rest of the season, having served his court order on that assault conviction. So he's done his time. Richmond has failed to score 100 points in their last 23 games at the MCG, the club's longest ever streak without scoring over 100 points at that venue. Did you know that, Mitch?
No, I didn't.
Collingwood still without Howe, with that groin injury, and Houston with the abs. Bobby Hill, Tom Mitchell chances. Bobby returned to the club last week. He was away on personal matters. Collingwood coming off 2 losses. Richmond coming off a very good win here in Perth. Probably doesn't augur well for the Tigers, I would have thought. Collingwood, a very angry Collingwood, get this one done.
Yeah, Collingwood will win this one, and that's pretty much all I need to say.
And finally, Marvel Stadium, Sunday, 1:15 p.m. St Kilda $2, Melbourne $1.82. Darcy Wilson out for St Kilda under those concussion protocols, and Stephen May copped that 3-match ban, has appealed, but it won't be heard till next week because, of course, he's also missing under the concussion protocols. So that's wise by the AFL. I thought this would play out exactly like the Alex Pearce incident played out against Burn Jones. 3 matches, upheld, appeal, get off. 100%. I think that's what will happen here. I still think there's room to move on an AFL field where you can, if you haven't got time to change your action, I think you should be able to get away with that. So I think Stephen May gets off next week.
Yeah, and I think there's got to be a level of self-preservation from the player coming the other way too.
Yeah,
so,
yes, it does.
This is the game of the team that doesn't want to score versus the team that can't score.
Yeah, that's right.
And so for me, I've got to go St Kilda for that because I don't think I think they'll stop Melbourne from scoring. Although
they won't
the
score enough
can't
themselves.
Score anyway. So
I look at Melbourne and I worry.
I
mean, they do have some real potency in their forward line.
They can't get it to
and Wanganeen, but then I see Stephen May and Jake Lever missing. That's really critical for them.
Yep.
How good is Wanganeen Malera? Keep him in the midfield. He wins the Brownlow.
And he's the most entertaining player at the moment in the AFL. In my view, he's the one I don't like watching St Kilda, but I'll watch him if
he saves St Kilda games, doesn't he?
You just watch him because the things. Yeah. What was it, 30-odd and 22 goals? Yep. Sorry, last week. Outstanding.
Mitch, I'm excited.
Are you?
You know why?
It's mailbag time.
Because it's Thirsty Camel mailbag time.
Yes.
This week's special pure blonde stubbies. Camel Club member price is $54.99 a carton. Join up in store or online today.
Oh, you know what I love about the pure blondes? They're low carb.
Yeah.
I might go, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
On the way, yeah.
Yeah, no, very nice.
I'm watching the weight.
Very nice.
winter.
I was going to say. We're giving away, as usual, a $50 digital voucher thanks to our long-time sponsors, Thirsty Camel. Get your questions in for next week to TheWestSport at wanews.com.au. Please include your mobile number at the bottom of your email as we'll send you a digital voucher if you are a weekly winner.
I need to start sending questions in.
Mitch.
There's a Thirsty Camel on my way home.
Yes. Hi, guys. Just a quick one with regard to Freo's game plan. I heard a stat from Champion Data saying that when Freo's ball speed is 100, which is the AFL average, or better in those quarters, they've won 12 and lost only 4. But when their ball speed is less than 100, they're only winning 50% of those quarters. Obviously, one of their game plans is to move the ball quicker because you don't do that by accident. And it was shown in the last quarter of the Collingwood game. They looked so good when they moved the ball quickly. So my question is, should JL revert to quicker ball movement as plan A and not have it as a backup plan B when they're behind? That's Ash from Palmyra. According to Champion Data, in fact, when they have ball speed's been over 97, they've won 15 and lost 4. When it's been under 97, it's a 25 win, 1 draw, 27 losses. Against Collingwood in the first 3 quarters, it was 78. Last quarter, it was 103. The only thing I'd say about this is some teams don't allow your ball speed.
Yeah.
And so it's you can't just flick a switch and go quick.
This
I think
argument is weird,
they
isn't it?
clearly went corridor footy at the weekend and they did it really well. It was a great last quarter, as it was against Hawthorn the week before.
Yeah.
What did you make of the McRae comments afterwards? I think it's great fodder for the media, but was too much made of that. I didn't think it was
I'm okay with it.
I didn't think it was a flippant comment. I thought it was just analysing the game.
I don't think it was a flippant comment, but you know what I kind of like about it? Is I now want to see Collingwood and Fremantle in the finals.
Yeah, of course.
So,
yeah.
you know what? I can't turn around and say I'm open for this American style and then criticise those things. I think they're great.
Is he daring Freo to go quick in the finals?
He is.
Yeah.
He is at 100%. And now, yes, you know what I want to see? I want to see Collingwood and Freo at the MCG in the finals. And I want to see them go quick,
game.
or I want to see them But yeah, the argument of the speed, like you said, Quarters, it depends on the opposition, depends on the situation of the game. It depends. It's to steal a line from Justin. It's a horses for courses thing.
This one from Paul from Rockingham. G'day, fellas. I would like to call the previous weekend of footy the good, the bad, and the ugly. First, the good. How good was Fremantle? Where would you guys rate this game in our history? In my opinion, it has to be in the top 3. Well, let's just start with that. Certainly not the greatest win, because that would be the final at Cardinia Park, the Stephen Hill goal final. But I reckon home and away, it's right up there.
We need to get to a point, though, for Freo now where we stop talking about the greatest win. We talk about it because they don't have a flag.
Yeah.
When was the last time you spoke about Geelong's
that will
greatest?
become their greatest win.
Yeah, but when was the last time you talked about a Geelong greatest win or a West Coast greatest win or an Essendon or a Collingwood? It's because there's flags, there's premierships. Like, we only talk about it in terms of Gold Coast,
Yeah, we do.
GWS, and Fremantle. What have they got in common? None of them have a flag.
Yeah.
So we need to get to a point now at Fremantle's history, and that will come with a premiership. But I agree with you, Gordon. I think it's one of their best wins of all time. I just can't wait till we get to a point where we're not talking about that
I thought the
anymore.
win against Hawthorn was even better.
Well,
to be honest.
I thought backs against the wall, 100%. I thought Collingwood would win. I just thought they'd get it done.
Oh, I did, yeah. I had
Well,
my
after
doubts.
you convinced me to change my tip.
Well, you did. Yeah, that's right. The bad was the umpiring. It was awful for both teams. Yeah. And the ugly. I can't remember a worse game than the one the Eagles played against Richmond. So I rate this game their worst in history. I would like to hear your opinions.
No.
They were okay for 3 quarters. They were terrible. And maybe Richmond took their foot off the gas a bit in the last, but to allow it to be a bit more even. But I thought at least Harley had a go in the last quarter. I would say round 15, 20, 23 is pretty hard to go past, though. The 171-point loss to Sydney,
I was
the
there.
worst in their history.
I was there.
Now, does that top last week? Clearly it does.
I was there at that game, Quarters. It was one of the weirder games I've ever been to in my life. Sydney was celebrating by quarter time. I mean, the fans, not the players. The other one I'll say is the one where Tex Walker kicked 10. When you've got an entire crowd standing behind the goals wanting Tex to kick him from 60 because they're not worried about the result, it's kind of embarrassing.
Yeah.
So, look, as someone who's travelled and seen, I think, probably 95% of West Coast games live in the last 3 years, it's not their worst.
No.
Disappointing, but not their
Very
worst.
disappointing. I think the fact that they were 17th really.
Yeah, but it's one of their most disappointing, maybe their worst, not by a long shot.
Hi, boys. The Eagles are seen as the golden goose of WA football, paying healthy dividends each year to WA football and its development programs. With Eagles' profits set to become losses over the next decade, how does that impact WA football funding? Does that mean the AFL will need to contribute more to WA footy system? Will that become the incentive for the AFL to ensure that the Eagles remain profitable, as the AFL won't want to keep putting their hands in their pockets? I actually don't. That's from Brendan. I don't think it's that dire. Certainly, I don't think they'll start mounting consistent losses. They're 100,000 members.
They just got 100,000 members again. The only reason that their cap and the contribution to the WA football is a bit lower this year is
payouts.
The payouts to Simpson and Nisbet over the last 2 years has been an impact for that. I'm not sure they're actually paying Nisbet out anymore, but Simpson they are this year as well. So, look, they're going to free up some cash next year. I understand they're going to look at doing some more development in that space, so that'll be a watch. But look, West Coast, they're making money head over heels. They're fine. They're still getting 48,000. I think Kane Corns calls them the best fans in the country because they turn up to watch some really bad losses.
Not just the games, mate. You've seen they're there at training every Tuesday, every Thursday.
So and the merch,
good on them.
Clubs make revenue so many different ways. Trust me, West Coast are not going to go broke anytime
Royalty, however, the royalties from the Eagles has dipped from 3.8 million in 2021, 2.7 million in 2022, 2 million in 2023, and 1.78 in 2024.
It will
of course,
change.
Yes, it will.
It will flux. And look, while we all can't see the light at the end of the tunnel for West Coast, they're not going to be this bad forever.
The other concern was the state government funding. So that was an estimated 11.5 million over 10 years. The agreement was signed when they moved to Optus Stadium. So that ends in 2027.
Yep.
So that's still nowhere near being finalised. I think that's
more important than what we're talking about here. Yeah.
The royalties are very important to how the game is run, but that is certainly...
The bigger issue we have at the moment in WA football is the waffle teams and how they remain viable. Some are, some aren't. So that'll be something that needs to be watched.
But this week's winner, Mitch, is Joel, who sent in a lovely email on Tuesday. It started out about Fremantle, but it ended with him talking about taking his 3-year-old to see the Perth Demons Homes games this year as a way to introducing him to live footy and to wear out some toddler energy. And he said, it's been a great way to spend a Saturday arvo with the family. For any of your listeners with little ones, I'd seriously recommend it. Great vibe, quality games, and the kids love it. Joel, you're a true football believer.
Well, tell Barra.
And you've won this week's Thirsty Camel voucher, so well done to you.
No, congratulations. And yeah, like you said, if you get down to the waffle, get down, have a look. It's absolutely fantastic. It's a good day out, and the waffle's needed for WA football and interstate football and football in general. So, get behind it. I know this week's going to be hard with the Derby and about 3 games clashing, but if you can get down to Mandurah, get on the train, go and have a look.
We have been brought to you by TABtouch. Got the touch? Download the TABtouch app today. What are you really gambling with, Mitch? For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelponline.org.au, and remember, you can watch or listen to this podcast on YouTube Music. You can watch it and see Mitchell's lovely blue shirt. Leave us a rating and a review, and don't forget to follow this podcast so you don't miss an episode. Once again, thanks, Mitch.
Thanks, Quarters.
Good luck with your tipping.
You too.